Hey dudes, welcome to Splat from the Past, the only 80s themed horror and sci-fi show where things can get totally radical. Now today, I will be welcoming a legend in exploitation films. I had his brother on earlier this year. His brother was Bob DeSimone, comedian and star of Friday the 13th, Part 5, A New Beginning. But today I'm interviewing Tom DeSimone, a guy who started out directing adult films and then moved on to be exploitation films, particularly horror, women in prison type of movies and stuff like that. He did movies like Chatterbox. That was like his most famous adult film. And then he did the horror classic Hell Night, and then also did Reform Schoolgirls and Angel 3. And also directed TV. He also directed episodes of Freddy's Nightmares and the Swamp Thing series. And I can't wait to have him on today. So, here is my interview with Tom DeSimone. Hey, Tom, it's Tommy.
How you doing?
I'm great. How are you, sir?
Good.
Well, welcome to the show. It's such an honor. Thank you for taking the time today.
My pleasure.
I had your brother Bob on earlier this year. Did you ask him about me?
No, I haven't, because he's not in town, and I've been busy with other stuff, so I thought I'd give him a call after we talked or send him an email or something. So.
Nice. Well, I do thorough research, and I make it easy for my guests.
Yeah.
So
what are we discussing? Are we discussing a particular film or
just
my career or what?
Yeah, career.
Oh, okay.
And particular films, yeah.
All right.
So going back in time, do you remember the first movie you ever saw?
Yes, actually, it was a Walt Disney cartoon, Donald Duck picture. I had an uncle who was he worked at MIT, he was a scientist, and he didn't have a son. And so he kind of adopted me and started taking me to museums and things like that. And he took me to a movie theater one time, and we walked in, and this was on the screen, Donald Duck and his nephews, and I remember just being mesmerized. I had never imagined anything like that existed. And he also had an 8mm movie projector and screen, and he would often screen cartoons for us kids when we went to visit. And then he sort of became a mentor. He taught me how to take pictures, and he set me up in my own dark room, and little by little, I just started making pictures for myself on 8mm, you know.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's
so he was the catalyst, and so was Walt Disney. Growing up, I kind of fantasized about someday going to work for Walt Disney. I was fascinated by the whole stop motion thing, and when I was a kid, I used to make some stop motion 8mm stuff using my brother Bob.
Mm-hmm.
Often as a character in these films. I used to make mini horror films, tabletop destruction of cities and stuff like that, you know.
Yeah. Is it just the two of you?
Yeah, well, a sister, but she wasn't interested in us, you know.
Oh.
She was older, dating boys.
Yeah. What are your favorite movies of all time?
Oh, God, people ask me that all the time. I can't have one favorite because I've seen so many films and I have so many favorites, you know. But to me, a favorite is a film I can watch many times and I don't get bored. And there are things like The Letter, Duel in the Sun, In the Sheen, for getting more contemporary, Double Indemnity. You know, they're just pictures that I just have been fascinated with, you know.
Yeah, those are all great ones, especially
Double. Yeah, I'm more of a classic buff, you know.
Yeah, especially Double Indemnity, Billy Wilder. You can't go wrong there.
Oh yeah, and The Letter's probably a picture I've watched more times than anything else. I don't know why. I just love the way it's handled by the director. There's so many moments in there that I just love, and of course she's phenomenal too. But Duel in the Sun is another favorite, only because it's so outlandishly over the top. It's hard not to love it, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
It was his attempt to make a Gone with the Wind in the Old West.
Yeah, is that King Vidor?
No. Well, I mean, what's his name? Was the producer, famous David Selznick.
Selznick, yeah. Selznick.
He was married to Jennifer Jones, and they wanted to make her a star. You know, I think it was King Vidor was the director. I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's so over the top and so beautifully photographed and put together. It's a real epic. And of course, it was a hit when it was released, but it was a bomb with the critics. They were the one that came up with the phrase "lust to the dust."
Mm.
But now it's a classic, like a lot of things.
Yeah. Did any directors influence you?
Well, when I was a kid, DeMille, only because he was so obvious, he promoted himself. When I went to the movies as a kid, I didn't pay attention to the director's name, and it wasn't until I got older and I was in film school that I started to, pay attention. And when I was in film school, it was people like Godard and Fellini and Antonioni, people like that, and a few American directors. But I like, what's his name? 2001.
Stanley Kubrick.
Yeah, Kubrick. I like a lot of Kubrick stuff,
Nice.
And Woody Allen, of course, was a fave for years, and Fellini,
Yeah, those are all good ones.
Yeah.
I was reading that you went to Emerson College, and then you went to UCLA to get a master's degree in film production.
Right.
And then you were a post-production supervisor at Basaustu Productions? Basesto, yeah.
Stephen Basesto, the father, who started it, and his two sons. Stephen was an animator for Disney, and he started his own small animated film company. They were making films for the educational system, the school board, and stuff like that. So I was there, I was cutting negative, and I was mixing sound, and I was recording the voiceover actors and everything. And then I kept begging them to let me make a picture. I said, I'm more than this, I'm a director. So they did let me shoot a live-action picture, which turned out quite well. In fact, I got a letter from the author of the book it was based on, telling me how much he appreciated what I did. So,
Is that where you truly learned to be a filmmaker and figure out your style?
Oh, no. I was a filmmaker long before I went to Basesto. I was a filmmaker. When I was at UCLA, I made films, and one of them won a Best Directing Award at a film festival in Washington. And then my student project, my senior project, got me a scholarship. And these pictures are screened for the public. Once a year they would have this annual student film thing. And when I did the senior project, which was like a short feature, when I say it was scripted, but you shot it on a soundstage with a full crew and, a real Hollywood production. And the day after the screening, Columbia Pictures called the school and wanted to meet the director of that film. So I went in and met with them, and it didn't go in it. But, strange story, years later, that same producer that I had the interview with hired me to do my first picture, Chatterbox. He didn't realize it at the time, but I reminded him. I never forgot. And I waited until the picture was well into production because I didn't want to bring it up too early because I didn't want him to think, oh, this is that guy I didn't hire. And now I'm, so I reminded him and he remembered the whole story.
The young, starving artist never forgets.
Right.
So what made you get into the adult film industry?
Well, it was a job. I was working at Basesto making very little. I mean, this was a tiny little family operation. It was the father and two sons, and of course they got all the good stuff of work. And at that time, theaters were starting to open, showing this stuff, and somebody suggested, they said, you should maybe do one of those, you'll make some money. So I called one of the theaters, and I asked where they got their product, and, and they gave me the name of this production house, and I made an appointment to meet the guy there, and he said, well, everybody says they can make these kind of pictures, but they can't. And I said, well, I can. So he said, well, I'll tell you what. He said, go out and shoot something, come back and see me. So I, one weekend, when I was leaving on Friday, I stayed a little late, and I took one of the cameras, and I had bought some film, and I went out on the weekend and just shot this little, 4 or 5 minute loop, and made it artsy-fartsy. I'd stay late at work and edit it there, and I added some music. There was no dialogue. It was just, visual stuff, montage, and I added the soundtrack from Jules and Jim. I remember some of the music. So I made an appointment with him. I said, I have a film. He said, okay, come in. And he had a screening room at his offices there. So we went in and we put it up on the screen. And he showed it, and the picture ended. He stood up. He said, now you stay there. And he went out, and he got all the executives, all the people, and he said, now you come in here, and now you sit here, and you watch this. And he said, run it again to the projectionist. So he ran it again, and the picture was over. And he said, now these are the kind of pictures we need in our theater. And he hired me right there.
Oh, really?
Took an old movie theater he had, and he gutted it and put the sound stage in, and then offices and the cutting rooms and all that stuff. And that was the beginning of a career that I never expected. Yeah,
yeah, those were the days.
yeah.
So much harder now to get into anything.
Well, that was the problem. When I graduated college, Hollywood wasn't looking for film students. Now they court them, and they give them Oscars and everything. And I thought, damn, I was born too late and too early. I was too late for the studio system, where I probably would have been happy being the studio director.
Yeah.
And it was too soon before the big change when they were looking for young filmmakers and all that stuff. So I was right in that limbo period. So I figured I want to make films. I don't want to wait tables, so I didn't care what the subject matter was. It was a paying job, and it turned out to be actually a lucrative career for many years.
Mm-hmm. You came from that same generation of guys like Gary Graver and Chuck Vincent, who later became exploitation filmmakers too. Right.
Russ Meyer and those people, and the up in San Francisco, they were the two brothers. Actually, my memory for names now is fading. Unfortunately, I used to know all these names. I could drop them at the drop of a hat, but yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Where did you get the name Lancer Brooks?
Well, that was just a weird. I had a partner, a friend who was sort of called himself a producer, although he was a tag along, and I used to get the producer credit. And we used to just make up names because, first of all, I didn't want to be known for making it up because I still had plans to get into the legit business, and I was worried about how this might affect my career if I ever made it. So nowadays it wouldn't matter, but those days it did. So we would just make up names, and each picture. So I don't know. We brought a film to the distributor who was he was booking our pictures, and he said, put the same names on the picture that you did on this one, because he said they like your stuff, and if I tell them it's the same filmmaker, we can get more money. I said, oh, all right. So we started thinking, what name did we use on the last picture? So it turned out to be Lancer Brooks and Blue Max. There was a movie called The Blue Max, and so my friend Nicholas decided to call himself Max Blue, and that was how they were born. I always wish I had chosen a better name on the previous film, but
Yeah. Chatterbox is probably your most well-known adult film. How on earth...
That was my crossover film, from porn to legit.
Yeah, how did you get the idea of a talking vagina?
Well, we were talking about doing something, my partner at the time. This was going to be something that I was going to do with my partner. We were going to make an X-rated movie. It was going to be hardcore. And at the time, Deep Throat was a huge hit.
Right.
We thought, we got to come up with some tricky woman thing, And there was always a bad joke about us talking vagina. I don't know if you ever heard it. I won't tell it on your podcast, but anyway.
I probably heard it. Yeah.
So we decided, I came up with the idea that we'll make a girl with a talking vagina. And but we never got it off the ground. The script just sat around. And then when I had a friend who was a writer, successful writer. He did Garbo Talks. Larry Gruson was his name. And he was a big fan of my stuff. And he was having a DVD party one time, and I was there. And he said, there's somebody here who wants you to meet a producer. I said, okay. So he brought me over, introduced me to his friend, and it turned out to be that guy from Columbia. Mm-hmm. Because I knew it instantly, but I didn't say anything. And he said, you should see Tom's work. He's very talented, blah, blah, blah. So he said, well, I'm looking for young directors because I want to do something, like Emmanuel or some X, but not hard X. And Larry said, you're a master at that kind of stuff. I said, sure. So I screened a couple of pictures, and he liked them. And he said, well, do you have any ideas? And I said, well, I have a script laying around. And I told it to him, and he loved it. And it was originally called Lips. That was the name of it. And but then Warner Brothers had just released a picture called Lipstick, and they didn't want to, we didn't want an X-rated picture. It was never intended to be hardcore or anything, but we just wanted to do a, kind of a X picture for adults. But then it eventually became an R.
Yeah.
The money people got involved, and they were worried about an X, and then who was it that released it? I forget. Anyway, then somebody came up with the idea of making a musical. There were so many cooks in the kitchen that it just totally got away from me. But it was my first film, and I didn't want to put up a big fight. I probably should have. But anyway, I just rolled with the punches, and I said, oh, well, let's do this, and let's have a musical number, and let's have this. And next thing you know, it wasn't even the same picture anymore, So.
Yeah. What was it like working with Candice Rylson?
Oh, she was a sweetheart. I love Candy. And, when we brought her in, the funny thing is we were casting the picture. We didn't tell anybody what it was about because we didn't want to scare agents or actors. Because we knew we were going to treat it, tastefully as you could, a picture like that. I didn't want them, they were coming in to do a three-reeler, we just said it was a story about a girl in Hollywood who has this weird thing, and that kind of stuff. So we had a lot of good people come in. So anyway, she read, we liked her, and we told them all up front that there would be a lot of nudity, and she didn't have a problem with that. I said, but we're not going to do Playboy kind of split beaver stuff, you'll be protected on the set and all that. So, because we never really saw her vagina,
Yeah.
But we did a lot of waist up and breasts. But that was common then, women's breasts on the screen. There was nothing unusual at that time.
Oh, yeah. How about the crazy Rip Taylor?
Oh, he was a handful because, he we'd do the rehearsals and stuff and people would laugh. And when we were rolling, he'd be upset because people weren't laughing. And I'd keep telling him, they can't laugh. Just do the bit. Yeah, but I work better when I have laughs. I said, yeah, well, you'll get the laughs in the theater, but not on the set. We can't laugh. So, he liked playing to an audience, so he was crazy. The biggest problem was the other one was Professor Irwin Corey.
Mm-hmm.
Because he was just, he just rattled off one thing after. He never did the same line twice, and, some of those things were cues for the other actors, so he was a little bit of a handful. They both were, but they were fine to work with. There was never any real problem,
Oh, that's good. Mm-hmm. Then you did the horror classic Hell Night. Yeah.
Well, that was the same producer. After we did Chatterbox, while we were working, we had a good working relationship. And I said to him, if you ever do a horror, if you want to get a horror script, I'd love to give it a shot. He said, okay. So it was sometime after that, not too long, but he called me and he said, well, he had done a television movie with Linda Blair called Born Innocent. And it was a big sensation because I guess it was girls in reform school or girls in prison, and there's a rape scene using a broom handle or something like that, and it was pretty shocking for network television. And so he was friends with Linda, and he called me and he said, we have a horror film, and he said, Linda's agreed to do it. And I thought, wow, this is a big step up from Chatterbox. So that's how it came about.
Yeah, I was reading that Frank Darabont was a production assistant.
Right. And look what happened to him.
Yeah. Did you see any potential in him?
Well, we barely had any interaction because he was just a free PA. He had one of the producers on the film, Chuck Russell, who I was friends with for many years. Chuck brought him on. I don't know where he found him, how he knew him. And Frank wanted to just be on a picture to learn the business, see what, be on a set like we all used to at that age, And so I never really had much interaction with him. I mean, I knew he was there, and I knew his name was Frank, but it wasn't until after. But he and Chuck remained friends, and Chuck was kind of a aggressive, go-getter kind of guy, and they got things off the ground. Chuck, I don't know if you know who he is, but he directed The Mask. That was his big hit.
Oh, Chuck Russell, yeah.
Yeah, Chuck and I had planned to do a picture together, and after we did Hell Night and Chatterbox, he was also on Chatterbox. And we came up with an idea to do an adult version of Hercules. It was going to be an X-rated Hercules with a lot of topless women, and we were going to get a muscle guy and all that. So I wrote a script or a treatment, and we got Chuck was big on special effects, and we got Ray Harryhausen to do some sketches of creatures, centaurs and stuff like that. We were really excited about it. So we went to Golan and Globus. At the time, they were big producers of these kind of
Canon. They were Canon films.
Yeah, exactly. So we went there, and they liked the idea, and they said, well, we're going to Cannes, we're going to promote it over there, see if we can raise some money, and blah, blah, blah. So we said, great. So they made up this big poster and everything of a Hercules and over to Cannes. Next thing I know, we read in the trades that Golan and Globus are producing a Hercules movie starring, what was his name, the actor who did Hercules. I mean,
Lou Ferrigno.
Yeah. And so we thought, what the hell, So that was our idea. So we contacted and they said, well, we're going in a different direction. We didn't want to we want to do more of a family kind of thing. We said, yeah, but that was our idea. You stole. No, Hercules is. So we called a lawyer, and he said, well, Hercules is public domain. He said anybody can make a picture about him. It's just a legend. But he said if they use anything that's in your script, then you can raise hell. But he said you can't stop them from making a picture. So we got screwed over by them, gave them the idea, and they ran with it. And there were many Hercules pictures after that. kind of just drifted apart. He got busy, and I got busy, and that was it. So.
Mm-hmm. Vincent Van Patten claims that Kevin Costner was a grip on the film.
What film? Hell Night?
Yeah, Hell Night, yeah.
I can't believe that.
Yeah, it's an urban legend.
Costner? No. I mean, I remember all the grips. I don't remember Kevin Costner. Of course, he was unknown then, but still, I find that hard to believe, you know.
Yeah, it's an urban legend.
It could be fact, but like I said, I didn't know. Frank Darabont was on Hell Night, but I wasn't paying any attention to who he was, so maybe Costin was on the picture, but I mean, there were no grips that I remember that were anything, you know, they were big, burly guys and hard drinkers. You know what grips are, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't see any fine, refined actor lifting cable or rigging lights.
I don't know why he thinks that.
I don't either.
But is it true you replaced another director on The Concrete Jungle?
Yes, that was Billy Fine, and I had done Hell Night, and he called Erwin Yablans, who was one of the producers, and wanted to know. He said he had a director that they didn't like, and they were going to get rid of him, and could I come out? Did he have a director? So Erwin called me, and I said, sure, so I went in and met. But he wanted me to start in 1 week. The picture had all been cast and everything, and I thought, oh, Jesus. I said, give me at least 2 weeks. I said, I got to run around. I got to look at locations. I got to meet the crew. I got stuff to do. I have to meet the cast. You know, I can't start next Monday. I mean, it's impossible. So he gave me an extra week. So it was during that first week or the end of the first week that I had a table reading because I wanted to meet all the cast. I'd met, you know, he introduced me to Barbara Luna and Joe St. John, and that was originally going to be Shelley Winters was going to be the part that Nita Talbot had. I can't remember. She was like the social worker or the anyway, and there was a line in the film where she has an argument with Joe St. John, and Joe calls her a fat bastard or something like that. And Shelley Winters said, you know, I want to take that line out. I don't want to be called a fat bastard on the screen because I'm kind of heavy and I don't, you know. So, and Billy refused to do it. He said, no, that's the line that's staying in. So anyway, they had this contentious kind of relationship. She walked from the picture. So then we had to hire somebody, and I liked Nita Talbot. Her name came up, and I liked her. I said, okay. So then we had to drop that line because Nita wasn't fat. I thought, well, what the fuck? You know, I mean, you wouldn't drop the line.
Yeah.
Somebody like Shelley, the Academy Award winner Shelley Winters, but you drop it for, you know. So anyway, that was the way it was. But anyway, while we were having the table reading, the lead actress, just got awful. I'd never heard anybody as bad. And you know, even Barbara Luna and Joe St. John, they said, oh, she's terrible. And I said, yeah. So we went to Billy, the three of us. We said, she can't act. You're in trouble. This girl can't act. So the other director had hired her, evidently. So we had this bad rush to find the lead, and that's where we got another name.
Mm-hmm.
The girl who was the lead in Concrete Jungle, do you remember?
Oh, let me look it up real quick. Concrete Jungle. Oh, Tracy Bregman?
Yeah, Tracy, that's
right.
Yeah. She's still working. She went on a soap after that, and she's been on it for like 100 years. She looks great, and she just, you know, she found herself a nice, steady job acting, and she didn't really care to be that big Hollywood starlet kind of thing. So yeah, she was fine. She was a little stiff physically, action-wise. She wasn't a good action girl, and in this picture, she had several scenes where she had to be active, you know, fight scenes and stuff like that. But as an actress, I found her easy to work with, and I really liked her.
Oh, that's good. Did you do some directing on Savage Streets?
No, I was hired to direct it by Billy. This was after we did Concrete Jungle, and then he wanted to do another picture, and I thought, oh, another one of these pictures. So when I read the script, I was a little uncomfortable with it. It was really kind of sleazy, and I thought, geez, you know, gang raping a deaf and dumb girl. I mean, that was the opening, you know.
Yeah.
And then there were other scenes, and the problem was the money people were in New York. And I think they were, I don't want to say mob related, but I don't think they were bankers, you know. So
yeah.
They, one of the guys there, I can't remember, we had these conference calls continually. They never came to California to meet with us. It was always conference calls. And one of the guys there fancied himself a writer, and he kept adding scenes or changing scenes and making things harder and more disgusting for me, you know. So I kept fighting and figuring out, just do it, do the picture. So what happened was when we finally had the casting, a young actor came in. I forget his name now, but he was sort of not a name, but he was an up-and-coming actor that had done some good stuff, and we felt great having him, so we hired him. And after we hired him, we sent him the script, and my phone rang that night, and it was him. And he said, I just finished reading the script. I said, what do you think? He said, I can't possibly do this picture. And he said, frankly, I don't know how you can either. And he hung up. I said, he's right. How can I do this picture? The actor turning down a lead. He said, it's so disgusting. He said, I can't do this picture. So I agonized over it all night. And I said, I thought to myself, I really don't want to do this. My heart won't be in it. I'll be uncomfortable shooting it. I won't like it, So I called Jack, who was the producer. I said, I hate to do this to you, because we were a short time before shooting. I said, you better look for another director. I said, it isn't in me to do this picture. So anyway, so then they got...
Danny Steinman.
Yeah, Danny, yeah. And I had hired my brother to be in that picture. So he and Danny got along. They hit it off great. And then Danny did one of the
Friday the 13th movies.
Yeah, and Bob was in it. And Bob still gets fan mail on that picture. And, he played somebody named Billy, I think it was.
He told me, yeah.
Yeah, the cab driver who gets hit X in his head or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, actually, he's one of the mental hospital workers. Yeah.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, driver. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. My favorite movie of yours is Reform Schoolgirls.
Yeah, me too. That was a lot of fun. That was really, that was one of the few pictures where I'd get up in the morning and drive to the set. I was actually anxious to get there. Usually you're sweating. You're like, oh, God, another day. I got to get up there. But I couldn't wait to get to the set. It was kind of an easy shoot in some ways, because we were pretty much in the same location the whole time. We had taken over this old jail, or this old building, not a jail, building downtown that was empty, and a lot of big... So we we built the dorm there. We built the cafeteria. We had the offices for Jill St. John and all this. So the only thing we didn't have was the exterior yard.
Mm-hmm.
And we shot that at some abandoned or some school nearby. We would shoot there after hours, where we did the tower and the bus and everything. But it was nice being in one location every day. You just get up and go to work, and at the end of the day, you just said, cut, and you go home, and they just closed it up, and nobody bothered the set. And we didn't have to load trucks and move from one location to the next like you often do on a picture,
Yeah, I had Winnie Friedman on last week, and she was telling me that the producers on this movie were the ones who really ran the show.
Which movie? Mine?
Of Reform Schoolgirls.
No, what's his name? Jack and Jack was the producer, and I was originally going to be the producer, but I gave him the credit because, but there were the only people that came by occasionally was a guy named Tony Randa from New World, just to make sure we were staying on budget and stuff like that. But there was nobody running that picture but me and Jack.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I guess she just...
Who did you have on?
Winnie Friedman. She played Terry in the movie.
Terry.
Heavy-set girl with glasses.
Oh, yeah. Oh, Winnie. Yeah, I remember Winnie. Yeah, she was like a comic relief in a couple of scenes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we ran the show. The producers were me and Jack. So I don't know who she thought was running the show other than us, because there was never anybody from New World there except Tony Randall, and he only came by once or twice a week just to make sure. And he loved what we were doing. He was a big fan of the picture,
Mm-hmm. Is it true that Sutter was supposed to be a man originally?
Yes. I had a problem with New World because they wanted Sybil Danning in the picture, and I said there's no part for her, and they wanted her to play Edna. I said, no, there's no way. I said, Pat asked is Edna. You can't. I said, she couldn't handle that dive. She couldn't make it work. No, we went back and forth. Well, nobody knows Pat asked it. Their big concern was, they said, the video box. We want Sybil Danning on the video box. She'll sell that. Oh, for Christ's sake. So I said, all right, here's what we'll do. I said, I'll change the part of Sutter to a woman, and she could be there. So they were happy. They didn't give a shit. They just wanted her in the picture. That's how naive they were.
Yeah.
So, anyway. So she was in the picture, and they stuck her on the video box, which I hated that picture, but anyway.
Yeah.
And then when we had a preview, people wrote preview cards, and several people said, we didn't see Sybil's tits. How come we didn't see Sybil's tits?
Oh, God.
Yeah.
How?
That was her claim to fame.
Yeah. How was your relationship with Wendy O. Williams?
Well, Wendy was fine. She was very standoff. not in an unpleasant way. When she was hired, she had a manager. Actually, he was kind of her Svengali. His name was Rod, and they were living together. They were lovers, and he actually created her. Her name wasn't Wendy. She was a girl that he found in Times Square working in some kind of as a dominatrix in one of these houses or something. And he saw something in her, and he changed her name Wendy, and he created the Plasmatics, her rock group. Mm-hmm. So he controlled her whole life. I mean, literally. And so he was on the set every day, and they kept to themselves. She didn't mingle with the other cast. She'd come in and she'd go to her trailer, and she was all into macrobiotics and all that healthy stuff. You know, she'd do like 200 sit-ups and 200 push-ups and all that stuff. And they were just kind of reclusive. And I mean, she wasn't a problem. We communicated okay. She did what I asked and stuff like that, but we didn't socialize very much away from the actual set. And she kept to herself. She didn't eat with us or the crew. She ate in her trailer. But we had a little problem, not with her, but toward the end of the film with Sybil Danning, because they have this big fight at the end. Mm-hmm. And Sybil was a little difficult. She was having trouble with the fact that Wendy was the star, quote unquote, and not her, you know. So when it came time to do this fight, she came in with her boyfriend, whatever, I can't remember his name. Mm-hmm. And she said, "Oh, we worked out the routine last night, and we got all." I said, "Oh, really?" And she said, "Yeah." And she said, "Let me show you." And she started going to a routine, you know. And she said, then she comes to me, and I kick her here, and then she says, and I throw over my shoulder. And then Rod, Wendy, he said, "Wait a minute." He said, "I didn't hire my girl on this picture to be a punching bag for you, you know." And it's that. So then it was a battle between the two men who were controlling these two women. You know what I mean? Yeah. And Sybil was kind of getting a little like, I'm not going to do it if I don't want to just be beat up by her. My fans expect me to do this, and my fans. So I called Jack. I said, "You better get down here to the set," because it was raining outside as well. We had to get this stuff done. We had lights on the windows and everything. I said, "We got a standoff here between the two women and their managers." And so Jack came down, and we all had this power. And Sybil just wouldn't back down. So I said, "You know what?" I said, "The fight happens off screen. We'll just, you'll die off screen." She said, "Wait a minute." I said, "You'll die off screen. We're not going to see." We didn't do the fight. We saw them get started, and that was it. You know, so if you notice in the pictures, Sybil just disappears. You know, there's no ending for her.
Oh yeah.
So I just made it. I said, "Wendy's wrapped. Sybil's wrapped. Goodbye, Sybil." Everybody said, "Oh, you're wrapped. Bye." So she lost that battle, and she was pissed. When I went to the cast party afterwards, a week or so later, she presented me with a gift, and I thought, "Oh, well, that was sweet of you." I was expecting. I opened it up, and it was a necktie, but it was a snake. Thank you very much.
Do you still have it?
Oh, sure, yeah. It's red. It's got an actual snake's head on the end of it. It's a long red tie, and at the end it's kind of like a, actual head with eyes, and the mouth is open. So I thought, "Oh, that's cute." So I don't think I ever wore it. So, but we've communicated since then. She's called me several times about a script she has, and I said, "People aren't doing those kind of films anymore, Sybil. They're just not. You know." It was a time like in the 70s and early 80s they were doing these exploitation pictures where women, topless women and women in prison. Every script she would send me would be the same thing. It would either be women or gun mall kind of things. I said, "I'm not doing that anymore." I said, "Nobody's doing these pictures." Yeah, I said, "Go to the theater. Do you see any of these pictures on the screen? They're not doing them, you know."
Yeah.
So I don't know whatever became of her. So.
So then did New World offer you Angel 3?
Well, they signed me to a contract after I had a 2-year contract with them, which was really posh. I mean, I had my own offices in Century City, and I was making good money and doing nothing. You know, they said, "Well, we want you under contract, and we'll find a project, or you can maybe, come up with something." So I wrote one screenplay. They wanted me to do a sequel to, Wanted Dead or Alive.
Oh, yeah.
Get with that. And I came up with a really good script, and they loved it, and they paid me a lot of money for it. But what happened was they were in the process of going under. You know, they extended themselves too much. They had TV shows, the movies, and the money. I don't know where the hell it was going. So then they decided they wanted me to do an Angel 3, and I saw another bad girl movie. I thought I was going to get away from that. Well, just do this one, and then you can do anything you want, that kind of shit.
Yeah.
So I wrote Angel, and we did it, and it was, while we were in production on that, they pretty much folded. So that's why it never got released. It went direct to video, and the producer and I, with Arnold Orgolini, we were really heartbroken because we'd hoped that it would, see a screen. Interestingly enough, I got a call just a week ago from a guy who wants to release it on Blu-ray, and they're going to come here next weekend and do a Q&A with me for the what do you call that? The
commentary?
The additional material at the end of the Blu-ray.
Blu-ray, yeah.
So they're doing all that stuff, which I just did recently for Hell Night. Turned out really nice.
Oh, that's great. I'm going to check that out.
Finally, somebody's going to see Angel 3.
Yeah. Did you watch the first two before doing 3?
I had seen the first one in the theater, I remember, so I didn't watch the second one. Everybody's second one was god-awful, so I didn't watch it. And we originally were going to hire the girl that was in the original one. I can't remember her name, but she had a drug problem.
Donna Wilkes,
they found her, and they said, look, you got to get clean. You know, we're going to give you this picture, and she had a manager. He said, I'll keep her clean. So the producers or the insurance company insisted that she sign up with a rehab kind of, she had to see this person twice a week, to stay clean. They wanted to because they wouldn't insure the picture because they were worried, So she complained about that, and they said, look, this is the only way that we can't get the money to do the picture. We can't get it insured unless you promise to be clean, at least for the picture. So she agreed, but after 2 or 3 weeks, she fell off the wagon, and they said, we're not doing this picture. So we had to find somebody new, and then we found Mitzi, and I liked her a lot.
Oh, yeah, she went on to do Silk Stockings. She's
great. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
What was it like working with Mark Blankfield?
Oh, I liked Mark, but the problem was I had written that character for an actor I knew. His name was Michael Greer, and he was a comic and a female impersonator.
Mm-hmm.
With amazing wit. I just loved him. I always thought one day I'd love to do a picture with him. So when I got this, I wrote that character, Spanky, for Michael. And so I brought him in to meet the producers and everything, and they didn't like it. They said, well, he's too tall, and I don't know, he doesn't look good next to Mitzi, and they hemmed and hawed. So they said, see if we can get a name or a half name, or, we need to put some people in this big. So I had to go to Michael and say they turned you down, and he was heartbroken. I was, too, because he would have been so funny. Anyway, we hired Mark, and I liked Mark. But the problem was, as we started shooting, he kept resisting. He didn't want to play it gay. He didn't want to play a gay character, which, today people would stand in line to play a gay character.
Yeah.
But he had problems with it, and there were scenes there was a scene where he's sitting there in his makeup mirror putting on makeup, and Mitzi's there, and her boyfriend, I can't remember his name, comes to pick her up, and they go, and Mark, he said, well, I don't want to be putting on makeup or anything. He said, can I just put nose put? And I said, well, he's dressing up to go out on a date or something. I don't know. But it was that kind of resistance, and I just kind of let it go because there's no point in fighting on the set. There's too much to get done. This is the way he wants to play it. I'll just change my attitude about the character. So, unfortunately.
Oh, that's too bad. He is a really funny and talented guy, though.
Yeah, and I always liked him. When we got him, I thought, he'll be great at Spanky. And he didn't say anything to me previously about the gayness of it. But as we started shooting, well, I don't want to play him gay. Can I just play him funny? That kind of stuff. And these are the things that happen on low-budget pictures. There isn't time to make the change. There isn't time to argue things out. On an ordinary, a big-budget picture, you get a page to do a day, a page and a half. We used to do 11 pages and with 2 locations. And, low-budget filmmaking is backbreaking for a crew and a director.
Sure is. So what made you turn to directing television?
Well, after I done Angel, I said to my agent, I said, I don't want to do any more bad girl movies. I've done Reform School Girls, Concrete Jungle, Angel. I said, I want to do... He said, well, you can't go from Reform School Girls to Ordinary People. I said, yeah, I get it. So he said, why don't I get you some TV work? He said, I'll get you some TV work. And he said, maybe you can work in TV for a while, and if you're lucky, get a movie a week. And I said, all right, that sounds fine. So he got me a job on Freddy's Nightmare Horror thing.
Yeah.
So I said, that's fine. But, it was good because it got me into the Directors Guild. Before that, I had been working, not in the Guild. Because low-budget picture, you don't have to be in the Directors Guild. But in television, you can't work in television if you're not DGA. So the producers on that show, Jeff Freilich, who I really like, was still a very good friend, he sponsored me into the Guild. So that was like the beginning. And then I just kept getting hired, and I really liked television because the work was fast. I liked it. There was no waiting around. You had a week prep, and you had like 7 or 8 days to shoot, and you were done. You got 2 days in the cutting room, and it was done. And then money was very good because the residuals used to be terrific in those days. Shows kept running over and over.
Yep.
So then Jeff Freilich went on to do a show called Dark Justice. And I remember reading in the trades, he was doing this new show, Dark Justice, and it was going to be filmed in Barcelona. So I just picked up the phone and I called him and I said, "Hey, you're doing it?" "Yeah." "Oh, yeah." He said, I said, "I'd love to come down." "Oh, okay." So, because we had a good relationship on Freddy's, I did a bunch of those. I did like 6 or 8, I can't remember. And so then I went down to Barcelona and I was their house director for 3 years. I did 18 episodes of Dark Justice. So we did the first season in Barcelona and then the second and third season here in L.A. It was a great experience, a great crew, great people. I had just one of my best experiences.
You did 3 episodes of Swamp Thing, and you actually...
Yeah, that was a nightmare. About a swamp, yeah.
You directed a friend of mine, Jill Whitlow, in an episode.
What was the name?
Jill Whitlow. It was Marauder's Brain.
Oh, did she play that girl that came to visit?
Yeah.
Oh, I remember her, sure, yeah.
Yeah.
It just came out on DVD, though, that set, the whole Swamp Thing.
Oh, I didn't know that, yeah.
Yeah, it's a box set of all the shows, so I have them.
Nice. So you've been retired for a while now?
Yeah, I retired in 2001. The last show I did was She Spies for MGM.
Mm-hmm. Did it get to a point where you were just, like, ready to hang it up?
Well, the work was less and less, and they were looking for younger guys by the end. They would say things, "Well, we want somebody who's in touch with the audience." And I think, "The fuck does that mean?" "Oh, I can't do that." What does that mean, in touch with the audience? I've been in an audience my whole life. I know what audience is like, I think, so anyway, and I thought, you know what, I'm getting old, I'm getting tired, I'm just going to take it easy. So I had this home in Palm Springs anyway. It was a second home, and I decided to just sell my place in L.A. and come here and write. So I've been writing.
You write books?
No, I'm writing a memoir. So
yeah.
Almost finished. I can't seem to finish it. I've been working on it for a couple of years.
Nice. Well, I hope it gets finished. I hope it gets published. I'll definitely buy it.
Me too.
Well, Tom, this was such an honor. I thank you so much for coming on today.
Oh, I'm glad you called, and it was a pleasure. I'm sorry I couldn't remember half the names. I thought I could.
That's okay. That's a common theme on the show. But you gave me some great stories. So thank you so much, sir, and you have yourself a great day.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Well, there you have it. Tom DeSimone. Ain't he a cool dude? Great stories about the exploitation genre, especially in the beginning of it in the late 60s, early 70s. That was spectacular. If you like this video, everyone, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Add me as a friend on Facebook. Join my Tommy Kovac comedian page on Facebook. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram and all that fun stuff. Well, that's all the time we have this week on Splat from the Past. Until next time, this is Tommy Throwback Kovac saying there's no shame in living in the past because the present sucks. Later, dudes.